Go ahead, please.
Okay, Ji. Sat Sri Akal to everybody. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. This presentation I made earlier, about a year ago, or maybe more than that, at Gurdwara Sahib meeting of the Chardi Kala. And so it was ready to go. So on the last minute, Hardev Ji called me, and so we can discuss it.
There are
Anji? Okay, so this topic is very, it's a topic for vichar. So obviously, the mainstream thinking is creation is creation. There's a creator, there's a creation. And so talk to anybody, 99% of them will say, oh yeah, that's true. You know, that's the mainstream thinking. All scriptures talk about creator and creation. Science talks about Big Bang theory, that the universe was created at time zero. So, but the question is that correct? Is that the correct interpretation from what we know today? So it's more of a, you know, it's a topic for vichar. I think Bani लिखा है कि वक्त विचारे सो बंदा होए. So Bani's message is कि banda, to be a human, to meet the purpose of being human is वक्त विचारे कि वक्त नु विचार करो कि है की चीज है. If you have solved the mystery of वक्त, the time की है, is time real or illusion or what? What is time? So Bani says वक्त विचारे सो बंदा होए. So to be a human being, Bani tells us to vichar on waqt, time. It is the same thing Einstein says. He's the, I would say, the only scientist who has actually made talk about time, whose whole theory is about space-time. And even he says that time is a very stubborn illusion. So now the question arises, if you go, everything is done by time. Look at the world. We shoot rockets into space. We track that by a nanosecond. In second by second, it's traced to land on Mars or wherever. Everything we do in life goes with time. If we don't move according to time, we can't run our life. But then why Einstein, who's a scientist, saying time is an illusion? Well, scientific models use time. So let's see what Bani says. So this whole purpose of this, which our topic is, let's see what Bani says about time. And let me shut down. So, so please ask questions. This is not a formal presentation in a conference or anything. And anytime you have a question, please raise it, because this topic is going to raise a lot of questions, because we are all tuned to our mainstream everyday thinking that there is a creator, there is a creation, and that's probably most wide interpretation by any pracharak or kathakarak. They will all tell you that there is a creator and there is a creation. So it will raise a lot of questions, and my purpose is to incite those questions so that we could do deeper thinking into this topic and see what Guru Nanak is saying, what Einstein is saying. Are they in tune what they are saying, that time is an illusion? And so how is that related to creation? Creation says that at time t is equal to 0, the universe was created. and it's believed it was created from nothing. The Big Bang theory says that there was nothing before that, and bang, there was a magical creation at time t is equal to 0. So creation here is more to do with time, which we are going to vichar that was there a creation time 0 that creator created the universe. It's not more about the Maya creation. The creation is Maya or not. Whether the whole what we see is illusion. It's more to do with the time. Was it created? Is this true that the universe was created at time t equal to 0 by God or Vaheguru, and before that there was nothing? That's the aspect we are going to discuss more in detail today. So let's go into the next slide. So this, I already talked about this, that how do we, what does Gurbani says about creation? So we will keep going until, so I'm going to skip on a lot of scientific details here. There's a Big Bang model. Most of you are aware of it. There's a scientific evidence that the Big Bang model says the universe got created at time t is equal to 0. It's expanding with dark energy and so on. And the problem is, even on scientific side, there are a lot of open questions about that model. Although the Big Bang model that the universe was created has been widely accepted by majority of scientists, and it seems to coincide with the scriptures, or even most religious scriptures talk about a creator and creation, and so the two match very well. But there are a lot of open questions with that understanding, and that's what listed on this slide. So that Big Bang model, in spite of the fact that majority of scientific community accepts that model, 96% of the universe is unknown in that model. Means the science does not understand where is the missing 96% of the universe energy and dark matter. That's called, they call it dark energy, dark matter. Dark does not mean it's black and it's color. Dark is not the color. Dark here means unknown. Science does not know where is 96 to 99% of the universe is missing from their calculations. So that's the biggest drawback of that model, of the scientific understanding. The next question is big question: creation of matter from nothing. The universe was created out of nothing. And also, I think interpretations of Gurbani and scriptures of Bible and so on, they all say that there was nothing before the universe was created. That raises a big question. Now, there's a big disconnect with science here. Science says that nothing can be created out of nothing. You have to satisfy the laws of conservation of energy and mass. So if you can create the mass of the universe, the galaxies and stars from nothing, it will violate the fundamental law of conservation, which says you cannot create energy from nothing. So these two big questions, 96% unknown universe and violation of the whole science is based on laws of conservation. Those two violations are the big question marks on the validity of this model. But in the absence of nothing else, science has accepted this. And they say, oh, look, we are in tune with the religion or scriptures, which also says universe was created for nothing. So there looks like the big defense of scientists who propagate this Big Bang model is religion. They're basically propagating the religious thought that there's a creator who made a creation. So they try to kind of win that argument. Of course, they present a lot of data, but these two issues which I presented, it's in violation of fundamental science. So there's a big leap of faith in scientific community to violate scientific laws and propose Big Bang model to satisfy religious sentiments of scientists. Then there are other big questions which are open, come out about this model of this Big Bang. Singularity in scientific theories at the moment of creation. You know, they all say that there was a black hole. If you have heard black hole thing, it's a gravity, intense, infinite gravity field is called black hole. It's a singularity means at that point when they use this model to predict the universe at that time zero, the model blows up. It just can't give them an answer. So it's called singularity, means it just blows up and there's no answer. If we try to calculate that in computer, the computer just blows up. It does not give you an answer. So even their model does not tell them that at time t is equal to 0, this happened, because they can't predict it. They can't calculate it. It blows up. So, and then so on. I can keep going on. Then this model predicts there are multiple universes, infinite number of universes, because that comes out of the theory of this model. Means in Bani also, I think Bani talks about many worlds. I mean, in Japji Sahib, Guru Nanak talks about, I don't remember the verse now, that kinne lok, patal lok, this lok and that lok, unginit number of worlds, earths, planets. So, but science becomes so ridiculous that they talk about multiple universes. So the whole objective of science is to predict, to make a universal theory. But now there are infinite number of parallel universes. This theory applies to which universe? How can you have a universal theory if there are infinite number of universes? That means there are going to be infinite number of theories. So there cannot be one theory. So how do you justify a Big Bang theory about this universe if you are telling there are multiple universes as a conclusion of this theory? So all these things, I mean, I can go on and on, but I don't want to dwell on this. So there's a big question mark in science itself whether creation happened, in spite of the fact that majority believes in Big Bang theory. So we'll see what Barney says about that. I'll just pass on this. A lot of scientists also have questioned, even the Charles Darwin, who developed the theory of evolution, which is in time. He himself questioned the validity of time. So he said that the mystery of the beginning of all things is insoluble by us. And I, for one, must be content to remain an agnostic. That the beginning ever happened. Although he developed theory of evolution from beginning, he said that the beginning itself is a big question. So Charles Darwin is questioning the origin of the time and creation. Einstein is questioning the illusion of time. So scientists are always questioning whether time is a real thing. So let's see what Guru Nanak said about time. So here are some examples here. And Japji Sahib, Guru Nanak raised the questions about the fundamental basis of the beginning and of time and creation. So I'll read the English version, but this Kavan, Suvela, Vakat Kavan, this whole pada or shlok or whatever, it's questioning what is time, what movement, what lunar day, what weekday, what season, what month, when form, matter came into being or emanated. He's questioning when did this happen. He's not telling when it happened. He's questioning it. Then he says, Pandit, the people who supposed to know it, they find not time, even though it is mentioned in the Quran text. Veda and Puranas Pandits, they talk about time, but they do not find it. Where is it? Qazis can't find it. Quran, they can't find it. They can't find the time of the beginning of creation. Neither the yogi or anyone else who do meditate, they cannot find the beginning of the creation. And then Nanak concludes, Jakarta sirti ko saje, appe jane soi. Only the governor of the manifested world knows if and when creation happened. So this beginning of time, the creation, is even Guru Nanak questioning, and he's concluding, no one knows it. Whether it happened or not, when it happened, how it happened. Any questions or thoughts?
Avtarji, can you say singularity in simple language? I have heard that term a lot. ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਸਿੰਪਲ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦੇ ਸਿੰਗੂਲੈਰਿਟੀ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਵੇ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਸਕੀਏ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਕੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਿੰਗੂਲੈਰਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਕਿ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ।
ਚਲੋ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ।
Singularity is similar to what Guru Nanak saying, आपे जाने सोई singularity. कि ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ whether what is the answer to this.
I see, because I saw it people talking, no, this is singularity and all that, but so no one knows about it. And why do you use such a term about which no one knows about it as a singularity?
Acha,
why don't you use a simple word like unknown or
Acha, singularity na is coming from mathematics.
Yeah.
So in mathematics, they use the term singularity when the equations blow up and there's no solution. Okay. If you divide 1 by 0,
yeah,
that's a singularity. The answer is infinite.
Yeah, we call it as infinity in mathematics. Okay.
Yeah, so that is a singularity.
So theoretically, infinity is a singularity.
It's a singularity in the sense that no one knows what that is. You can't definitely define it what that is. It's a name, infinity, but no one knows what that is.
Okay. Thank you.
So sorry to use that language, but it's very commonly used in science and mathematics.
Yeah, that's what I read many places, but then it didn't grasp into my mind that what it could be. So that's the reason with you, I can ask you in Punjabi. At other places, I cannot ask you so frankly or something like that. Yeah. Thanks.
Singularity is आपे जाने सोई किसे नु नहीं पता है
Yeah.
because it does not give an answer when the answer it cannot be found, and any mathematical solution blows up, a scientific solution blows up, a religious blow up, the mind gets blown up, and you
Okay.
can't find that singularity.
Yeah. And one other small thing, you might have read about that maybe around 1 or 2 months back. There was a news that Hubble telescope that saw some distant universes which were dead. So, did you read about that?
No, I mean I have worked a lot with Hubble data. Um,
Because,
so
yeah, scientists discovered that at least in the news stories published for laymen like us or something like that, those scientists might have heard about it or known about it for a year old or something, when the data gets published for newspaper and these things, that comes much, much later. So
yeah,
that said that number one, this 13 billion years is a number which is very hard to verify. And
yeah,
then in distant galaxies or beyond that, also there were a couple of universes which are dead.
yeah.
So,
So that can be explained. In fact, my model, I have made predictions of the distant galaxies almost moving at speed of light, and the interpretation of dead universe is as follows.
yeah,
When something goes at speed of light,
yeah,
and they are using, actually next year they're going to measure farther into the universe to see how fast the galaxies are moving, much like at the edge of the universe. And they find they are almost moving at speed of light. So nothing can move at speed of light until its mass goes to zero. So in that galaxy, all the stars within that galaxy, which have billions and billions of kilogram mass, they all must be burnt out like the sun is burning out. They all must be burnt out, and the mass has to become zero for it to move at speed of light. Because anything that has even tiny mass cannot move at speed of light. So they call that a dead universe, means all the stars have burnt out.
I
And
see.
now you don't see any stars glowing in that galaxy. So it's a dead universe.
Hmm. Okay, thanks. Just some, um, I don't know, for people like us, hardly any of practical significance, but good to know about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's keep going. I'm glad you asked these questions because they need to be clarified in order to get to the essence of this and try to understand the real uh, message which Guru Nanak, Einstein, and the universe is trying to give us, rather than go to the mainstream formulated thinking of what people are saying. So even in religion, when they talk about, let's say in all the scriptures, they talk about creator and creation, uh, the questions remain. For example, is there a creator God? Nobody has seen it. The people just believe in it. They have blind belief. But has anyone seen it? Is there a creator? The question is still open if you try to uh, say that, is there any other basis other than just blind belief? Uh, okay, then this question comes up. Does God follow its own laws? Is God under the laws of the universe, or did he create them for us and for the universe, and he is above the laws. So nobody knows answer to that question, but you will see a lot of religious folks will actually, you hurt sentiments of a lot of people when you say that, hey, how can God be under universal laws? But then the question comes up, Akbar is known as the the one of the best ruler kings in the world because he followed his own laws. If the creator himself is an outlaw, you can imagine what will happen to the universe. So unless a god follows the laws it created, the laws lose its meaning. That means there is something wrong about those laws that the creator doesn't even like them. So if we really think through these, our normal day thinking is, oh, there is a God who created the world and he's above the laws. He created it, and now uh, everything just follow what he wants. I mean, that's the normal religious thinking, but it's marred with all these questions. Then if that's the case, is there any purpose or meaning to creation and life? I think Inderji or someone asked this question in the last meeting, 2 meetings ago. If God created a life which is full of death and suffering and ego, didn't he create those things too? So what is the purpose of meaning of life if he created all these things? How can you have trust or faith in a creator who has created such bad things, suffering and death? What is the purpose of creation if he has to create all these things? So there are some very fundamental questions that come up with the creation theory. That the creation happened raises all these questions. Is fate or destiny predetermined? What is human destiny? Is there a free will? If it's created and it's following the hukam, which is hukam is interpreted as a predetermined fate for us and for the universe. So the question is that true? Does Vaheguru have a hukam that this has to be followed and you don't have any free will? Then what is the purpose, meaning of life? So then question arises, who am I then? What is my purpose here? So the conventional religious thinking and interpretations are marred with these questions. Just like the conventional Big Bang theory is marred with all those paradoxes I mentioned, which really violate fundamental science. Same way, the religious common day thinking, or as propagated by many lecturers and kathakars, it's marred with all these questions. But and I know that if you go ask probably 90% or above more, people just believe in it. They just keep on believing it. And that's what the whole vichar thing is. That's why Bani says, Bakat vichare su banda hoye, or jab tak Bani nu vichar nahi kita janda, we cannot benefit from it, because it does not erase these common misinterpretations and misunderstandings which departs from the true message of Gurbani, as well as Even all other scriptures, they are misinterpreted in everyday life with these kind of beliefs. So there, then the question comes up, how can we put them together? How can we take what is real in science and what is real in religion? I'm sure there is truth in religion, I mean, in the scriptures, and there is truth in science as well. So what's missing? How can we combine the two to take the best from both the worlds and then come up with a common universal understanding of science and religion? Because science currently as it is, it ignores consciousness. It does not know what that is. You ask any scientist about consciousness, what are you talking about? It only deals with dead things, dead matter, the rocks, the stars, galaxies with the dead mass. It has no, uh, it completely ignores any subjective experience. Religion is the other extreme. The all the religion interprets scriptures and including Gurbani, and they say material reality is Maya. They completely ignore it. They will keep emphasizing on belief in the creator and the God and ignore the material reality which science addresses. So there's a sharp divide between the two. But look at what Einstein is saying. Science without religion is lame. He's saying that science cannot even walk without the philosophy of the scriptures. And religion without science is blind. That any interpretation of scriptures or religion without a scientific understanding is a blind belief. So it raises a big question that how do we awaken to the real reality or a universal reality of the universe, which we call Ek Onkar or Vaheguru, without scientific thinking. And vichar is nothing but questioning, being skeptical, and not quit until you find an answer. So that is, vichar is kind of a scientific inquiry. That's what we do in science. When Einstein developed his theory, he used to sit down and meditate that if I am light and traveling through space, what will I see? And his meditation on that thought, what will I see if I was light, came up with the mathematical equation which is called relativity theory. So that's why he's saying science without religion is lame. He meditated on light. Now what we call enlightenment in religion is what Einstein did, enlightenment in science. He imagined if I was light, he enlightened himself to find a theory of relativity. So enlightenment is nothing, it literally means to become light. And that's how Einstein came out theory of light. So what is the difference between Guru Nanak or Buddha or Einstein? I would say none. Practically, they all both going through the same process of getting to the bottom of the reality. Meditation, deep thinking, vichar, and that's why Gurbani says vichar is the key. Je vichar nahi kita bani te, then its value is all missed. So these are some basic tenets, where both science and Gurbani or Gurmat or scriptures are telling us that you got to develop a common thinking, a common approach to get to the bottom of these two, into the oneness, find one solution to it, then we will understand what they really mean. Okay, so what is the role of science in Gurmat? Now, religious scriptures have countless interpretations. We all know that even the translations of Guru Granth Sahib or Gita or Bible, they are countless. Number of people who, just the literal translations are many, but then the interpretations are so many. That's why Guru Nanak says in Japji Sahib, Sankh Jap, Asankh Bhav, Asankh Puja, Sankh Taptav, Asankh Granth, Mukh Ved Path. So Guru Nanak saying, you're going to get lost in this. If you try to follow all these things, we will get lost in it. These are countless. The countless number of gurus, the countless number of, ashrams, babas. And that's what Guru Nanak is mentioning here. So how will we make a common interpretation which is the real, which would lead us to understanding Gurbani and the reality of the universe, Ikankar, Vaheguru, in a universal, unique way, which is the right way to understand it. That's where I think science comes in, merging the two. As Einstein said, a religion without science is blind. And of course, science is lost because their Big Bang theory is full of paradoxes too. So they have to look into what Gurbani is saying and merge that to understand the universe. So a complete wholesome science integrated with Gurmat, Gurbani or scripture's message is the only way to discriminate the truth from the multiple interpretations or myths about about the scriptures as well as of science. I don't know how many of you heard of quantum mechanics. It's a physics, it's a area of physics which deals with particles and atoms, and it's a high energy physics. There are, at this point, they say almost 50 different interpretations of quantum mechanics. Just to understand particles physics, there are 50 different interpretations. And none of the scientists know which one is correct. Same way, Gurbani, there are, and scriptures, all scriptures, they have many, many interpretations. So what is necessary to merge the two, to at least filter out those interpretations which are obviously in violation of the fundamental laws. So That is the message which Bani is also giving. That's why the vichar thing is nothing but, to me, Bani is encouraging us to bring a scientific method of being skeptic and not quit until you find a common universal solution interpretation which meets both uh, the scripture and science. So here are some uh, examples in Gurbani where I searched for this uh, Birla Bujhe Koi. This comes in Bani several times. Birla means very few uh, uh, who understand it. That means not a mainstream understanding. It's not where the herd of sheep is going with a mainstream common belief of creator and creation and hukam. You know, they are mainstream interpretation and understanding. But then Gurbani says, don't get lost in those. Kyunki Gurbani says, Birla, only once in a while, once in million, would be able to uh, resolve it, to understand it to the depth. And all these things. Sab Govind hai, sab Govind hai. Birla bujhe koi. सागर में बूंद बूंद में सागर बिरला बुझे कोई हर हर खंड रेत में बिखरी ब्रह्म पसार पसार्यो भीतर जो ब्रह्मंडे सोई पिंडे ये शरीर सब धर्म है मतलब all these quotations in Gurbani are pointing to the fact that Bani is encouraging us to get to the essence, the bottom of this. Sab Govind hai, sab Govind hai. What does it mean? सागर में बूंद बूंद में सागर हर हर खान रेत में बिखरी. So these Bani is telling again and again to us that to encourage us to not to have a blind belief in the common interpretations and the common beliefs which are prevalent out there, both in religion and in science. So it is just examples that how important is the scientific approach or vichar in getting to the bottom of the message, essence of the Vani. So how does that happen? How do we explain that there's a common misunderstanding and how only chances of getting to the right understanding are very low? There's a reason behind it. The human senses and mind can perceive only what is changing. You know, our eyes can see only in a certain frequency range. Our ears can see in a certain frequency range. We can sense things in a very small region of reality. The universe is infinite. It's like one example is if you try to look at the elephant through a peephole. Let's say you make a small peephole in a big paper or cover in front of the elephant. It's make a small peephole and it's looking at the tail. And the person who's looking at the tail of the elephant in that peephole says, "Oh, I know the elephant." But he's looking only at the tail of the elephant. So human senses and mind is like a peephole looking at the reality which Bonnie is trying to tell us. It's an infinite reality of Ikankar, but we try to use our senses and mind and get the peephole view interpretations out there and their blind belief in there, and that leads to we become exceptions to the ones who can look at the real reality. And that's the reason why Birla Buje Koi, because we do not, most of us, we do not go beyond our human senses and mind. If the world is doing it, if the world is saying it, it must be correct. I have seen that argument in many conferences. I've seen in even in science. You know, the mainstream science, if one scientist goes against it and puts something new, boy, it gets beaten up. It's the herd mentality is everywhere in science and religion, that what majority is saying, it becomes a politics of science and religion, where if the majority is saying it, it must be right. And that is not correct. And then our mind fragments the reality into pieces. Thus, the original oneness, Ek Onkar, and eternity, which is the timelessness, Akal, that reality is broken up by mind into fragments because of the multiple interpretations we get bombarded upon us and defray us from the non-duality or oneness and the eternity, which is timelessness of the ultimate message of the Vani. And what is really, this is a laughing matter. I laugh at it. The Sahaj, you know, the concept of Sahaj in Gurbani is the simplest. Sahaj is simple. Sahaj Avastha is the simplest Avastha. The ultimate reality is unchanging and hardest. It becomes harder and harder to perceive because it is the simplest. Oneness, Ek Onkar, and eternity, which is not changing. What is not changing in time and space, it's all one, is the simplest concept one can see. There's nothing simpler than that. Why is it hard to understand? Because we are used to think in terms of multiplicities. Means many, our eyes are used to see manys. We need to see if things are different. If things are not different, we are used to see many things. If we don't see many things, we get afraid. Oneness is like darkness to us. It's plug in my battery here. Okay. So the simplest is the hardest to understand, because it's like saying, if you have heard that, if you have read any book like Flatland, where the people who live in a flat universe and they look 3 dimensions, it's very hard for them to understand that. It's same way people live in 3 dimensions who are used to time and space, X, Y, Z, and time and space. People who can only understand things in space and time, for them to understand eternity, no time, and oneness, no space, is the simplest, is the hardest to understand, because their intellect and mind are tuned to understanding only the multiplicity of dimensions. So Gurbani is trying to bring us to the Sahaj Avastha of no dimensions, no time, no space, oneness, ek onkar, eternity, akal murat, no space, no time. And that's the purpose of Buddha and have all the Mahapurush jo hain. The main purpose is to bring us to the oneness and take us away from multiplicity. And that is Sahaj Avastha, the simplest state of being. So, any other thoughts or questions come up to anyone?
ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੋ ਤਿੰਨ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਹੋਣੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਬਹੁਤ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਜੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਅਟੈਂਡ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਿੰਗ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ, ਤੇ ਜੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਸਲਾਈਡ 'ਚ ਪਾਇਆ। ਹੁਣ ਮੇਰੇ ਦੋ ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਵਰਲਡ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ এনवायरमेंट ਤੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਲੀਡਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਕੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਮਝ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕੋਈ ਉਹ ਸ਼ੁੱਧੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆਉਣ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਲੇਮੈਨ ਬੰਦੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮਾਸੇਸ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਮਾਸੇਸ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, yeah, unfortunately, sorry state that there is none.
ਤੇ ਦੂਜਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, we are fortunate one way, but we are unfortunate on the other side, ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਲੋਲੇ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, let's say like this.
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਾਗਰਤੀ ਹੈ, ਅਵੇਕਨਿੰਗ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਬਾਈ ਚਾਂਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਆ ਜਾਵੇ, ਬਟ there is no, I think try ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ I mean on individual level people are taking initiatives, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ 'ਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਨਾ, ਵਿਚਾਰ ਦਾ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਨੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ, and
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਪਰ ਦੇਖੋ ਉੱਥੇ ਕਿੰਨੀ I mean there was maybe a handful of people showed interest.
I agree with you. ਉਹ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਪ ਇੱਥੇ 20 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਸੈਨੋ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਪਤਾ, ਉਹ ਤੇ ਗਲਤੀ ਨਾਲ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟਲੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੰਦਰ ਵੜ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਕੋਈ ਦੱਸ ਕੇ ਰਾਜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਕੋਈ ਦੱਸੇਗਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਮੋਟਿਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਫਿਰ ਸੰਗਤ ਉਧਰ ਆਏਗੀ ਤੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਕੌਣ ਜਾਏਗਾ? ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਪਰ ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਗਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਲੇਮੈਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਜਿਹਦੀ ਇੱਛਾ ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਕੋਈ ਜਾਣਨ ਦੀ, ਉਹ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ? ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ? ਵਾਟ ਇਜ਼ ਦੀ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ? ਹੁਣ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਾਠ ਕਰੋ, ਪਾਠ ਤੇ ਕਰੋ। ਮੈਂ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਛੋਟਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਿੰਗ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕਰਦਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਤੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਾਰ ਵੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੋਈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਲੈਕਚਰ 'ਚ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਗੱਲ ਰਿਪੀਟ ਕਰਦਾ। ਉਹ ਨਿਹੰਗ ਸਿੰਘ ਇੱਕ ਘਰ ਆਏ, ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਆਖਿਆ ਵੀ ਇੰਨੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਨੇ, ਇੰਨੇ ਭਾਈ ਨੇ, ਇੰਨਾ ਪਾਠ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇੰਨਾ ਅਰਦਾਸਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸੋ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਹੈ, ਐਂਡ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਦੱਸੋ। ਇਹ ਮਤਲਬ ਬੜੀਆਂ 60-70 ਸਾਲ ਪੁਰਾਣੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਨੇ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੈ ਗਏ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰੀ ਦੀ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਸਵਾਲ ਮੇਰਾ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ, ਮੈਂ ਤੇ ਕਦੇ ਦਿਲ ਖੋਲ ਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਵੇਟ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਕਿਸੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਵੀ
ਬਸ ਮੈਂ ਸੰਕੋਚ ਹੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਿ ਪਬਲਿਕਲੀ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੁੱਤੀਆਂ ਪੈਣਗੀਆਂ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਸੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ, and unfortunately that is the state of affairs right now. ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਵਾਰੀ, I mean there's only like isolated efforts go on, but they don't last very long. ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ it didn't grow. I was expecting, all of us were expecting, at least it should attract youth, people, you know, younger people who are more interested in scientific or logical understanding of Gurbani. They should come there. ਪਰ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਤਾਂ encouragement ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ
ਨਾ
ਵੱਡਿਆਂ।
ਕੋਈ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕੋਈ ਦੱਸੇਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਦੱਸਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਤੇ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ।
ਉਹ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਜਾਗ੍ਰਿਤੀ awakening ਹੈ ਹੀ, ਮਤਲਬ has to be created by adults into, you know, so again ਉਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਪੇਪਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਪਬਲਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ in IO, ਇੱਕ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ, ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ ਹਰਦੇਵ ਵਰਕ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਲੰਧਰ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਚ ਪੜਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ
ਪਟਿਆਲਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਜਰਨਲ IOSS, ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਇੰਸਟੀਚਿਊਟ ਆਫ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਟੱਡੀਜ਼। ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਬਸ ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਇੱਕ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆਇਆ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੇ I think ਉਹ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। I have not heard back from them. So unfortunately ਹੋਰ religions ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਇੱਥੇ। I mean, I know in Christian, I've been to conferences in Christianity. They have Meta Nexus conference, they have Berkeley ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗੀ ਇੱਕ institute of ਨਾ ਭੁੱਲ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦਾ, they have gatherings like that where the Christians gather together and they talk about scientific understanding of Bible. And so, but I think, yeah, unfortunately, I don't know of any in Sikh. I think Gurdwara Sahib, they try to do conferences once in a while, which I have not been invited to. But once in, I think every 6 months or 3 months, I don't even know. I think Inderji knows about it. He is one of the organizers, where they have 1 day or 2 days.
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਉਹ ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਥਾਪਨਾ ਦਿਵਸ ਤੇ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ।
So these are the only kind of efforts I know of.
ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਤੇ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਤੇ ਬੜੇ ਹਾਈ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ। ਕੋਈ ਵੱਡੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਸੌਖਾ ਵੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਦੇਖੋ ਨਾ ਸੌਰੀ ਮੈਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਜੀ ਆਊਟਸਪੋਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਵੱਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਉਮਰ ਹੀ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੇ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆ ਕੇ 10 ਮਿੰਟ 20 ਮਿੰਟ ਅੱਧਾ ਘੰਟਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਮਾਮੂਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਪਰ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਵੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਸੁਣਨੇ, ਸਾਡੇ ਪੱਲੇ ਕੀ ਪੈਂਦਾ।
ਹਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਉਹ ਇੰਟਰੈਕਟਿਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ। ਬਹੁਤ ਇਹਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ, ਉਹ 1 ਮਿੰਟ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਸਟਿਲ ਇਟਸ ਦੇयर इज नो ਇੰਟਰੈਕਟਿਵ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਔਰ ਆਨਸਰਿੰਗ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਸਹੀ ਗੱਲ।
ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੀ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਘਟ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਔਨ ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲ ਲੈਵਲ।
ਉਹ ਤੇ ਫਾਰਮੈਲਿਟੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਢੋਲਕੀ ਵਜਾਓ ਤੇ ਛਾਣੇ ਖੜਕਾਓ ਤੇ ਆਨੰਦ ਲਵੋ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ,
ਸੌਰੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਊਟ ਆਫ ਸਕੋਪ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ।
No, that is true. I mean, this is pointing to all that. I mean, I got motivated to make these kind of presentations just to arouse awakening in people that they should question and start thinking in these directions rather than following the herd. And not even I get, you know, if you say these things even in scientific conferences, you get jumped at. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਇੰਟਿਸਟ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਲਾਸਫੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਇੰਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ, ਤਾਂ they become very territorial to defend their own thinking. So now when you go with this kind of common approach, you get beaten up at both places. Okay, religion wale kende no, this is how can you say Guru Nanak is like Einstein? People have objected.
Yes.
I am trying to enhance the respectfulness of both by combining the two. Scientists can they go, how can you bring religion into Einstein? And the majority will, try to put you down. So it is a very big issue or problem, how to awaken people to think in a common universal understanding, combining the two, streams. So yeah, we are running over time. We can continue maybe after.
A last question, Avtarji. Not last question, but I'll say small suggestion on this, which Balbirji has brought out. I know you have a very good and rational way of approaching and all that. And have you ever tried these, some of the Sikh students association to motivate them to, because see, we elderly, whatever someone says, our ideas are fixed. There is a pre-ordained ideas ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਚ ਹੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ religion ਵਾਲੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ you are interfering in our things, and maybe science ਵਾਲੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਚ ਕੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਇਹਦੇ ਚ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰੂਫ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ। ਤੇ ਜੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ I don't know, there may be many other organizations, Sikh student associations and different at university level, because that's a level at which they start nurturing. So like here is Jakara. That's a young student, university professional, university students, I would say mostly, but they have now, many of them have graduated and they are still in contact. Such organizations, if you contact with them and try to see some of those, if you can penetrate by giving, so who knows, with your one of that spark, there may be few other students who get that ignition and they start thinking about it and go more deeply into it. Can that be a doable suggestion?
It's a good suggestion, but practicality is that I have seen my own sons, for example.
Yeah. ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੰਨਣਾ, ਪਰ ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ।
ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ I think it's very individual. It's a very personal, it's a kind of a personality, a trait of somebody to have that urge to pursue a line of, inquiry.
Yeah.
And, so one of my sons, for example, he is very philosophical. So the whole thing actually started with him asking me a question in high school. When this was like 15-20 years ago. He came back from his science course in high school, and we do physics homework, and he said, "Dad, my teacher asked me a question. Does science has anything to do with life? Can I ask that question?" And my teacher says no. That put a spark in me. And this whole thing where I am now started with that one question he had. And so it's a very individual thing, in spark that goes into I think that's why even Bani says birla bujhe koi. I think that's the way the nature is probably built in, that birla will get that spark. And when we try to do this, whenever we try to do this we were thinking that at Gurdwara a lot of people come, some of them will just drop in just to see the young people, and then they will get hooked on this. But that didn't happen. And Hardeji?
Yeah, Nick, that was the thing. That was the main purpose of doing it at Gurdwara instead of doing at work. It'll be exposed to more people, but we didn't see that much. I don't know whether it is exposure is not there. We have to explain to people. Even the school should be able to pass on some information. Okay, this is going on, and when you can get chance, why don't you attend these sessions so they can learn something out of it. And as a student, they do have curiosity. Just blindly telling हाँ जी पाठ कर लो ते कीर्तन सीख लो ते not those are not the only things. They have to have a wider outlook to attend these sessions. And maybe Nikki, I will talk to Dr. Grundapalji and Indraji and see if they can ask people to do something about it. Hopefully when the Gurdwara open back like a normal like a session, we can try that.
Yeah, at least the higher level of classes, now their kids are a little grown up. I mean, obviously this kind of stuff is not for 4, 5 year, 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the higher level, or in fact, they could have at the highest level, they could start this, at the grown-up level. So, but it's a good idea, but it has to catch up.
डॉक्टर साहब मैं छोटी जी गल कर लेना ਇਹ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਬਰਕਲੇ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਅਟੈਂਡ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਹਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟਰ ਸਿੱਖ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਇੰਸਟੀਚਿਊਟ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਆਏ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਉਸ ਕਲਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਅਜੇ ਘੰਟਾ ਕੁ ਚੱਲੀ ਸੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਿਨ ਦੀ ਵਰਕਸ਼ਾਪ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਜੀ ਕਿਰਪਾਨਾਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਬਰਾਂਡੇ 'ਚ
ਅੱਛਾ
ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਨੇ ਬੰਦ ਕਰੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਅੱਛਾ ਮੈਂ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਘਬਰਾ ਜਾ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹ ਤੇ ਸਿਆਪਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਕਿ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਇਹ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਘਬਰਾਓ ਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਲੈਣ ਦਿਓ ਬੜਾ ਸਹਿਜ ਅਵਸਥਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਿਆਣਾ ਆਈ ਮਸਟ ਐਡਮਾਇਰ ਹਿਮ ਜਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨੇ ਉਹ ਹੈਂਡਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੇਟ ਕਰੋ ਬਾਹਰ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਮੈਂ ਵਿਹਲਾ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਆਵਾਂਗਾ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕਰੋ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਵੀ ਆਊਟਕਮ ਕੀ ਨਿਕਲੀ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਜੋਰਟੀ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ
ਹਾਂ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ we know Trump supporters
ਸਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ
yeah so I think that's the thing it's I have heard people I think Kapani Sahib ne Dr. Kapani ne ek conference ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ teacher ਵੀ ਸੀਗੇ they were professor teaching Sikh studies at universities. One of those professors says, how can you, even at that level, he said that you are demeaning Guru Nanak by comparing him to Einstein.
Yes.
So no, I'm not demeaning him. I am providing meaning I'm providing Einstein's support to Guru Nanak. I'm not demeaning Guru Nanak. But there are people like that. And that person is teaching Sikh studies at university. So you can see how even the brilliant minds could be so closed-minded.
Yeah. Some of the professors teaching at Sikh studies, there had been controversies about them. I won't. You are more associated with these things. So.
Yeah.
Chalo. Yeah.
एक छोटा सा मैं लास्ट सजेशन दिया डॉक्टर इंदर मोहन सिंह हरी ने ना
हाँ जी
ਉਹ ਜੇਕਰ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਦੀ ਮੈਨੇਜਮੈਂਟ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਕੇ at their level if they can do something and then something can be promoted but other ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ is saying ਕਿ ਜੈਕਾਰਾ ਮੂਵਮੈਂਟ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਨੇ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਜੈਕਾਰਾ ਨਾਲ ਇਨਵੋਲਵਡ ਹਾਂ by the way and my age is 82 years ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੁੱਛਾਂਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਾ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਆਡਿਟਿੰਗ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਨੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਆਵਾਜ਼ 'ਚ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਬੱਚੇ ਕੀ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੀ ਪੋਤੇ ਪੋਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੇ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕੌਣ ਕਿੱਧਰ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਸ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸੀ ਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ
Thank you, Ji. Hardev Ji mentioned that he's going to talk to them and see.
Yeah,
I'll
talk to Mohanji and Dr. Gurinder Pahal. Because he,
ਡਾਕਟਰ ਗੁਰਿੰਦਰ ਪਾਲ, ਹਾਂਜੀ ਇੰਦਰਮੋਹਨ ਜੀ ਜੇਕਰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਗੁਰਿੰਦਰ ਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਰਟਨਲੀ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਓਪਨਲੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੰਦਾ, ਉਹ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਦੇ ਸੈਲਫਿਸ਼ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਨੇ ਨਾ। ਡਾਕਟਰ ਗੁਰਿੰਦਰ ਪਾਲ ਵੀ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇਨਵੋਲਵਡ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਪ੍ਰਮੋਟ ਕਰੇਗਾ? ਆਈ ਲੀਵ ਅ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ।
You know, being a principal, he can tell the other students, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਤਾਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ,
ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਨਾ ਛੋਟੀ ਉਮਰ ਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਨਾ,
ਉਹ ਛੋਟੀ ਲੈਵਲ ਦੇ ਆ,
ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਛੋਟੇ,
ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਲੈਵਲ ਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ, ਦੇ ਆਰ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਹੂ ਆਰ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਲੈਵਲ,
ਇਹਦੇ ਲੈਵਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾ, ਇਹਦੇ ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਏ।
ਚਲੋ we'll follow up with,
no
ਐਫਰਟ ਚੰਗਾ, ਯੈਸ ਗੁੱਡ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਓਕੇ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ ਫॉर
ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ, ਗਲਤੀ ਮਾਫ ਜੇਕਰ ਕੋਈ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਗਈ ਹੋਵੇ।
ਨਹੀਂ, all I mean this is something which grows by sharing, so I believe in that, so okay ਜੀ,
okay
okay ਜੀ,
okay, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਹਰਜੀਤ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ, ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ,
ਵੈਲਕਮ ਜੀ,
ਐਂਡ ਦੂਜੇ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਵੀ
ਓਕੇ,
ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ,
ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ,
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।